tell us a little bit about yourself, where, GreenMark's PR, and
Great,
just where
sure.
you're coming from the marketing space?
So GreenMark PR is an integrated marketing firm. So we do marketing, we do PR, heavy on the PR, but we also do whole marketing programs and even whole marketing policies. What we're trying to offer is more than just here's where you post, here's when you post, or here's the message. We are what we call master storytellers. So the goal here is that GreenMark PR's expertise is in the whole story. And that whole story is what creates the brand and what creates the message and gets the message out there to interested parties. And we do focus our message. Sometimes it's global and blanket, and sometimes the message is very focused. And that's another nature of what GreenMark does from a storytelling perspective. GreenMark knows the audience, we know our clients, we know the message, and we also know how things may come about in the future. We like to think that GreenMark wants to sort of make a sort of a stamp that improves the world as we go along. We want to promote things that are going to make the world a better place and leave it in a better place than we did before. So that's part of the GreenMark story. So GreenMark PR is easy to find. We have a Facebook page, GreenMark PR. We also have a website, greenmarkpr.com. It's GreenMark Public Relations Inc. is our formal name, but virtually all references are GreenMark PR. And we also use that hashtag. And the reason we use the hashtag GreenMark PR is that we are a news source. Growing Green, the show that I host, is GreenMark PR's news source. So if you use the hashtag GreenMark PR, you'll get different news stories about the green industry, hence the GreenMark. We're all about green places, green spaces, green issues, green stories. And the green industry has grown from just something that seems to be green, like plants or landscaping, into this enormous industry that has to do with energy and sustainability and just the value of what we can do differently when we live and build and eat and grow to have a more sustainable, earth-friendly approach. So that's the whole story of what GreenMark does. So
I think that's fantastic. I not enough companies out there are doing that.
We're solely green oriented. Yeah, that's really amazing.
I love that.
Yeah.
And honestly, so many people tell you, I mean, that's really awesome to target yourself down to a very confined niche, if you will. Because you're obviously going to be working with people who have that long-term, the green mentality in mind for whatever they're doing.
Yeah. And it's really thrilling because we know that every group we work with, we're doing something right. And I don't mean that there's a wrong way to do business. That's not what I'm saying. But it feels like, every effort we make is in a direction that's very wholesome and has a lot of beauty involved with it and such. So it's a wonderful group to work with, a wonderful industry to work in. So I am very fortunate as an individual, and GreenMark PR is also fortunate to have such wonderful clients. And our client list is actually on our website. If anyone's interested in how we do green clients, they can go right to our website and look up our clients. And we have a blog there too. So we do a lot of reporting about our clients and hopefully on ourselves too, to show how we are successful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. So you actually mentioned something that segues right into what we can talk about today. So the third Tuesday of each month, this show focuses on the when and where of social media. It has a lot to do with geography as far as in the social media space. We obviously have several ways and platforms of social media, and blogging falls into that highly because it's so shareable. It's great content, that you can use an RSS feed to get it. You can obviously share it out and have people follow your blog. And I think you had mentioned, so you said you use your blog at GreenMark PR as a news venue. Is that correct?
Right. So what we do is we'll take, for example, the shows that the Growing Green show that we will be hosting on Thursday. We'll take that show and we'll do a blog post based on that conversation, and we'll add a few more details. We'll take some quotes from the conversation. We may embed the video into that post. The point of this is to offer writers, interested parties, photographers, opportunities for places where they can find, up-to-date information on a variety of different topics from our clients and also from outside our client base. For example, the show on Thursday isn't our client base. These are, wonderful people in the industry who we want to talk to and give people an opportunity to ask questions. So we use our blog to further promote some of this news resource that we offer.
I think that's great, and you really do touch on kind of the where of how we're distributing this content. So, just like with this show, but with your show, you're saying that you typically have a routine audience or a type of audience, some demographics that will watch the show, but then you're trying to add to that to say, okay, well, for those of you who aren't maybe going to tap into a live show or even a video show, you might like to go find something to read, or it also helps the fact that if someone were to Google search for that topic, you're adding that content into your website's blog to make it available to anyone seeking that out. So you're basically repurposing and casting a wider net.
And there's layers there. So yeah, you're right. It's a wider net for visual snippets, written, and then there's the layers with the SEO and the opportunities to be searchable. So there's multiple reasons to repurpose. And like you said, not everyone's going to watch a 30-minute show at lunchtime. Maybe they just aren't interested. Maybe they aren't so concerned about the question and answer, but they still want the information, and they would rather read and quickly skim. Gives them the opportunity to do both.
That's right. And now let's talk a little bit about that too. Now, for your guys' blog, you've obviously decided to do that. You repurpose, use it to kind of spread the news out there. We probably have some people watching this, and they'll watch the replay or be watching on Facebook Live as well, who their blog maybe is not necessarily, it's not based off repurposing something they've done yet, but maybe they're sharing their expertise and such like that. Do you have any advice for how to know when to put, like what kind of content to put in your blog based on what your needs are? I'm sure everybody's going to be different, obviously, right? Because they have different expertise to share.
There's so many facets. So the first thing is, if you really like to write, if writing is your thing, and then you must have a story, because then the words wouldn't be on paper. Focus on your story. So that's the first thing. And if we're talking about content, the story simply needs to be compelling. And if it's compelling to you, it will be compelling to others. You just have to find your audience. It's a very vague answer, and that is really how it has to be, because every story is different. For example, we don't tell the same story from one client to the next, and we also don't duplicate types of stories. So, for example, we wouldn't use the same topic with this client and with that client. We want everything to be unique. And that's the point of representation. If you're doing a blog from your own business perspective, you're an individual, your story can be anything. So it's a matter of telling your story in a way that is, can bring that imagery without bogging people down with too many words.
Right.
You can remove lots and lots of words from a blog post and still tell a great story.
Yeah.
But there's no rule. If you like words, and maybe your readers enjoy these very descriptive, long processes to get to the point. Some people enjoy that. I myself am a low word content writer.
Right. Well, and I think that's one of my favorite authors is Victor Hugo, and he can wax on. I've loaned one of my favorite books is Les Miserables, and I've loaned it to a friend. I said, just skip this whole chapter. He does this whole thing, and really you only need the last 2 pages of it because that's relevant to the story.
Right.
But I think you're right too, though, in that pretty much, and I've heard a lot of people say this too. You're wondering, what content can I share? What can be evocative? I don't know what to say. If you're dealing with a human being, you've got a story right there, because each of us is very different. Just as your clients are different one to the next, each human being is different. Surely you can find a good thread in there to not just say, oh, this product is awesome. Instead, it's saying, Phil thinks this product is awesome because it helps him do X, Y, Z, which he couldn't do before.
That's an excellent point, because there's a difference between a description and a plot. So
Yes.
do you want your story to just be a description of something? And that's fine, because some stories are, or do you want your story to actually have a plot? Because if your story
Right.
has a plot, it's going to be composed differently, and your phrasing and your audience will be different. And you can mix the two together, you know?
Right.
So that's one distinction that you can make from a content perspective, description versus plot. And what's your goal too? You know, what's your end?
Exactly. Your goal needs to be, and I want to tally off into, because you'd mentioned that you do the live stream show and then you repurpose that into your blog.
Yeah.
Mitch Jackson had a question.
Sure.
Are you using live streaming for your clients? If so, which platforms and how are you using those? And I'm sure this kind of ties into you guys helping them tell a story and create that content.
So depending on you know, what the client is looking for with perspective to their entire proposal, we can use virtually any live stream. In the past, I will say that this is going to start a whole hullabaloo, because I have to say it. Our previous episodes were on Blab, and I know that that's just blown up, you know. So that's why we've moved to Fire Talk. One of the reasons. So we were using Blab, and then what we might offer is we might offer our clients an opportunity to join us for a discussion and allow people to do a question and answer, and then they can promote that as a question and answer that their customers can benefit from. We do a lot of the short live stuff, you know, like for conferences. You know, we had that conference discussion, that chat we did. We will be at the event and live stream. Look at what we're seeing. Look at what we're doing. We're here. Something like that. A lot of our clients are obviously visually oriented, so live stream is fantastic. And we say live stream, we mean live, but you know, there is a replay value, and there is also the nature of, you know, we might post this and then we might record something in addition and add that or share it. And of course, everybody is using YouTube, and I don't mean that as a negative, you know, as a slough off. That's where the value is. YouTube is actually a search engine now. So you need to be there. So we do that too. So it really depends on the client. Now, I will admit, any Instagram stories is new. So it's new to us. And we have been dabbling in Snapchat, although that one's a little
good job.
But I mean, really dabbling, you know. And for us, we go by the motto that you can't be everywhere all the time. You have to pick and choose where you need to be. So those two right now aren't at the top of our list. Not to say that, you know, they won't be, because they have value, and we do want to include them in our work group.
Sure.
Right now, Facebook Live is really important because it's so easy. We're doing some Periscopes. We haven't been as aggressive, and I personally haven't been as aggressive on Periscope, just because Facebook Live became so simple, you know? So, and then I personally, actually not so much for GreenMark, but personally, I actually enjoy doing videos, filming the videos first, and then deciding where to post them. That's me personally. I like to sort of hold on to things, you know. I don't want to just give it all away right then and there. So there's lots of different ways. I know, again, that's a very broad question, and that was Mitch, right? If he wants me to, you know, clarify, or you want to ask more details, I'm happy to go into that.
Well, Mitch already said he wants to get you over on Huzza, but you know, like I'd mentioned, I think at the very top, Ross Brand did a wonderful breakdown on the differences between some of these live stream show platforms. Whatever your secret sauce is, go with it. Wherever you can build that community that works for you is great to go. But I love that you're versatile in that too, that you are kind of making sure you know how to use all of these different live stream platforms, and based on what is best for your specific client. Again, there's no cookie cutter client, and some are going to love Periscope, some are going to love Facebook Live. But I think too, like you know, we kind of circling back to the blog, a lot of this is about, you know, letting the video go beyond the live component, where you went live, it was fantastic, but now you can actually take that video and go blog about it, or, you know, create a vlog, if you will. Let me ask you this. When you guys do your blog or vlog, you share that out to social, correct? So you share that link out to make sure people know about it.
Yes.
Do you, do you tend to like share we talked about you can't be everywhere. What are the primary platforms that you share your blog link out to?
And although I feel like this is a default, it's Facebook and Twitter. I mean, that's where we are. And again, these are only, they're not defaults in a negative. That's because that's where we are. It's where our clients are. It's where our clients' clients are. So these choices are made soundly. For example, if we were to take on a new client and they told us that their client base is on Snapchat, well, then that's where we would be. So that's what we would do. But right now, Facebook and Twitter really serve the purpose for us.
Yes.
And because we are a media firm, I mean, we are GreenMark Public Relations, a lot of our work is media based. So, we're on, we have hits on local TV, national radio, we are a nationally recognized firm. So we have to balance the media with the social media, because when you're in magazines and in media, the social media is so immediate, is so now that an announcement or a sneak peek or a leak could be a negative.
Right.
Oftentimes magazines will want spreads to no leaks. They want to be the first to announce it. So these are considerations for us as a media firm also.
That makes perfect sense. Now I have a question. So I have this discussion with people all the time, and I'm sure you have an opinion. So a lot of people ask me, and let me define, I don't want to be like Donald Trump and say a lot of people, I want to actually define who I'm talking about. Every client I have and anyone I consult with on social media, they ask, should I be blogging just on Facebook? Should I be blogging just on LinkedIn? I get so much more traction on LinkedIn.com when I publish a post, those published style blog posts. I always advise people that, you can do what you like to get the most engagement. Whatever's getting the engagement is best. But there should always be the consideration that your domain is your home address. You control that home address, as in you can decide if it's there tomorrow or not. Whereas you have no control over if your post will be on LinkedIn.com tomorrow, because LinkedIn could go away. Microsoft could say, we decided to scrap this whole thing. Likelihood is not there that they're going to do that, or that Facebook would do that. But yes, many people are saying
our videos on Blab, you never know.
Exactly. They're gone now if you didn't save them. So that's a perfect comparison to draw there too. That is, it's like, well, that's happened. A platform has gone to the wayside and gone poof. What's your recommendation as far as people saying, if you blog to your website, which hopefully people do you repurpose your blogs elsewhere, like on LinkedIn or anything like that?
That's a tough one, because I think it's story based. If you've got this incredible story that has many facets that will reach many different people, then I think that repurposing it is a really good idea, because the people that you reach from your blog would be different. I'm hearing the echo again. I want to make sure that no one else hears that.
I'm good, but great. I think
so. I just want to make sure that if I'm writing a story that I think is going to reach multiple facets, I want to post it on those appropriate facets. And I will actually repurpose virtually verbatim, because it's very time consuming to rewrite. Now, if I have a post that is very niche or let's be honest, you might not consider one of your best or one of your most hard hitting, because, we are news oriented, and sometimes news is really exciting and sometimes news is just news. It's like, oh, okay, great. Thanks for that update. So, my suggestion, based on what we like to focus on, is repurposing works based on who you're trying to reach. And then if you want to edit or snippet your work, we might suggest take this one paragraph, make it a tweet. Don't tweet the link to the whole blog. Tweet that one point.
Exactly.
Okay? So that's a suggestion from the perspective of repurposing, when the whole thing isn't really worth your time to rewrite for 6 different outlets. Right.
And I think the whole goal is ultimately you want to bring back them back to your home base. All roads lead to Rome. All roads should lead to your home, which is your domain, which is your blog's there, but so are all the things people need to know about what you can do for them, which leads to the lead generation and the engagement and all that.
And there's two things actually that I'll say to that. The first thing is that no matter what you post where, keep a record of everything you post to everywhere, because even your own private website could crash or could go down, or you never really know. You should always have a record of everything that you've posted. If it's, if you've taken a post and you've broken it down, make a note of that so you can repurpose, but you don't want to be redundant, so that's important too. And then the other thing that I learned at a conference, it was about social media. There is absolutely no way to tell, to judge or quantify who's visiting your website because they saw something somewhere else. The only way is if you click through. So let's just say, for example, a client of yours or a potential client saw an interesting tweet and they didn't click through that, but they instead just went to their PC and typed in your website. Okay. You would never know that client or that potential client came from that tweet. There's no way to know that. And there's so much of that it's very difficult to quantify what we miss, which isn't a bad thing, because let's just say it's a percentage. I mean, we can easily quantify. And when you say you want them to go back to your website, that's what we quantify. We use analytics. Who's been to your website on what day, what posted that day, what did we share that day, who came through from Facebook, who came through on this link from Twitter. And we analyze those details and we compare them either month to month or post to post. And to give you a really good idea, I mean, it's as simple as looking at your Facebook analytics, for example.
Yeah.
So
no,
I
think
information for each question.
No, absolutely. And I so appreciate you brought up the analytics component. I had recently made a decision too that I really can't, consulting is one thing, but when you manage profiles for people, you have to have that tracking in there. There's no way to show value, true value, unless you can at the end of 6 months or years say, you know what, we know for sure 20 to 30% of your website traffic came from your LinkedIn posts, or, you have to show that value. And rather than just saying, well, the vanity metrics are telling us that a lot of people liked your links, and shared it out. Well, great. Did that result in anyone finally getting to a thank you page because they submitted a form on my site?
We caught their email, or they made a purchase, or they showed some interest in something that we can then feed that through our system and put it in front of their face again. Exactly.
Absolutely. Look, one more question about blogging before we move on. I want to talk a little more about events in a moment too, because that's definitely somewhere we can all do better, including myself. How often does your company blog, and how often do you tend to instruct your clients to blog based on best practice?
I'll say that we are great with giving our clients direction, and we are consistent on our own end. For blogging, again, with respect to the follow-up from our monthly show, Growing Green, the follow-up is that monthly blog. In addition, we suggest to our clients, of course, they aren't all doing any kind of live stream or live anything. So we suggest to our clients, again, based on the proposal, how much time do they want to spend? What's their goal? You can do it once a month. You can do it once a week. Most companies are hard pressed to do it more than once a week. I mean, let's be honest. More than once a week is tough. It's time consuming. And the other thing that is important when you do a blog, again, depending on what you're talking about, but imagery is so important. So if you can sit and write something like a split and just get it down, that's great. But if you want to have imagery attached to that, extremely time consuming. Are you going to search for it? Are you going to get permissions? Are you going to take the images yourself? So these are all considerations on suggestions that we make when we discuss blogging. And we will use the statement, be consistent. So if you have a message and a following, and something needs to go today and it's not supposed to go till next week, we're not saying you can't do that. We just know that consistency works because habits work for people. Habits have value. So we like to take advantage of those, those I want to call them habits, but it's those different aspects of the demographics. We want to take advantage of anything in the demographic that we can. And habits is one of those things. And timing is something else. And so, you know, once a month is great for us because we have great content and we can, you know, repurpose it. But for some clients, you know, it might need to be more often because maybe not speaking about our clients, but any client in general or any business owner in general, you know, social media is so fleeting. What's out there is so fleeting. The information is so fleeting. The next thing comes so fast. You might find it necessary to post once a week. You might have to just to stay up to date, you know? So I hope that was clear enough because again, it's really goal-based. You know,
it is. And also I think there's testing in there too. I mean, you know, you can always try to say, okay, well, even if I know I'm going to put my blog out on Tuesdays, I'm going to try to push it out where it publishes at 9 a.m. But then I'll try maybe a different time. Does it post at 3 p.m. and does it hit more people? And it's just like email testing or anything like that. Any social post testing you do, you really are using that plus, and then always the analytics at the end ball of that to, or end game rather, to decide, okay, that worked better than that, so I'm going to stick with that at least for the, you know, the foreseeable future, and always recheck and make sure that you're hitting that. But
so, and you know what you mentioned about, you know, having your blog alive at this time versus having this at this time, and you know, you might find that having the blog be published at X time in combination with a post to Facebook 2 hours later, the combination is what works the best. One or the other isn't the answer, but it's the combination of both. So when we have, you know, we have our main posts that discuss the written version of our live, but we also have other posts that might be interspersed in there between the month to month. So then it depends on how we want to promote those posts. So it's a post by post discussion and it's a topic by topic discussion, really.
Agreed. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, and I usually find that the part where I fail at is I forget to plot forward and remember to share that blog into the future, particularly if it doesn't have a definite shelf life. And we mentioned social media can change very fast. So a blog I might do on a particular feature of, you know, Facebook Live, they're eventually supposed to do multi-stream on there. So if I blog, oh, it's great because it's just, you know, single person stand-up, that's going to have a shelf life because eventually they'll probably update that, and therefore that blog is now obsolete. But if it's a more evergreen content, to share it into the future, to remind people this content's still here, come see it.
And that historical content though has value from the perspective of, okay, let's say you did something like that and you have a blog post and it's dated because you know what happened then and that feature is different now. So today's feature and today's blog is about X. Well, you can link to that previous post and say, take a look at what it used to be like and what we used to have to go through, or take a look at the progression we've made over the course of the past only 6 months or year. Can you imagine if we referenced back every year to our, you know, what was our July 1st or our August 1st discussion on, you know, what's new, you know, let's link all of you know, Mike Stelzner's you know, updates over the course of 5 years and see how things have changed over 5 years. I mean, there's a story for you, you know.
Absolutely, like a time capsule almost.
Yeah, exactly. So linking back and as you mentioned, evergreen's great. You can always link back or use you know, use evergreen posts in the future in whatever way works best for you. But there's nothing wrong with linking to content that has some historical value either, even if things have changed, as long as you're making note of that, because then you're sending people to other links that are still yours.
Events seem like they're far more focused on specific dates. I mean, they really do. You have the lead up to them, the event happens, which also can totally include, you know, social and things that you do during the event. But then the event's over, and then, you know, maybe taken care of again, just like your live shows where you're repurposing and stuff. How do you guys conduct events? I mean, do you post them to your website, and how do you basically promote your live show and events like that?
So events depend on what the event is. For example, if it's something like a live show, we post on the value. The timing is on where's the value. So if it's a live show, for example, our show on Thursday, we'll start posting today. We'll create an event. We'll invite people to that event. ask people to invite people. We'll post on our page. Something like
Right.
a news show, a lunch and news show like that. We're not
Mm-hmm.
going to advertise that 2 weeks in advance like you would like a party at your house.
Right.
From
Right.
a posting perspective, um, we can. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the value is, this is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Come tomorrow. Yes, we do want to do things in advance. We do want to give people notice. So there are
Mm-hmm.
some events, big events, big speaker events, panel events, those types of things that we will promote
Mm-hmm.
well in advance, because those are things where people
Yeah.
have to attend, they have to go somewhere, they have to get a ticket, whether it's free
Yeah.
or not. Sometimes you have to, register regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Those types of things have a longer, let's call it a shelf life, from the time you announce to the time the event actually happens. So
Right.
events, depending on what the event is and how you want to promote it, you're always going to have a buildup. It just depends on how long that buildup is.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take, for example, like a book publish, a book coming out. Sometimes
Yeah.
people are so excited because they're waiting for the next installation. It's like it could be a year
Mm-hmm.
that we're talking about it. And sometimes
Yeah.
things are a little low key, or they're thrown together at the last moment. Again, not a bad thing, but someone decided
Right.
today that they want to have an event at the end of the summer, let's say. Well, we'd only have a month to
Mm-hmm.
advertise. So
Yeah. Yeah.
timing is dependent on, how the event is created, but also on, who are you driving to that? And if you're driving people that have a short
Mm-hmm.
attention span, then you want your invitation to have a short attention span, or you're going to have to repeat it
That's
over
true.
and over and over again. So
That's
if
true.
you're going for like a Twitter feed or a live feed, then you're going
Mm-hmm.
to have to notify people repeatedly to catch everybody,
Yeah.
remind everybody. Bigger events.
You bring up a really good
Yep.
point there. Twitter is so much different, and I was talking a little bit about this just a smidge earlier, where Twitter, the feed is so fast, you would want to share it probably multiple times a day. Obviously, you can switch
Mhm.
up the text, but you need to maintain a consistent registration link, or a link where they can RSVP. But
Right.
you probably are going to share that several times in a day. Versus Facebook, you probably are going to, if you have your page or your own personal profile, whatever, or groups, wherever you're using to promote that event, you can create an event item in Facebook and schedule when that push in. You might want to reshare it in your Facebook feed too. Definitely not several times a day though, because that's a different platform.
Right.
Doesn't move quite at that pace that Twitter does. Correct?
So, exactly, for Twitter, it would just be repeat, repeat, repeat. And people don't,
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, it's expected. There's no
Yeah.
negative to getting the same message 3, 4 times. It's not a negative,
Right.
especially when you have, clients and customers and viewers that are following thousands of people. You can't do it too much. Um, for Facebook, you certainly don't want to, let's say you have a business page of your own. So we have our GreenMark page, and everyone should go visit. We would never want our
Mm-hmm.
feed to be tripping over itself. The
Right.
GreenMark feed every post should have some value. Every post should have a point, should tell a story. Every post should have a
Mm-hmm.
goal. And that's how we like to see it, and that's what we might suggest to a particular client. But what happens is, if you feel that you posted and it's in your feed, and then how do you post the same message but with a different picture? Or you might
Mm-hmm.
consider something completely different, like sharing it as an individual to a group,
Mm-hmm.
so that
Yeah.
you're reaching more people, and then hopefully that would propagate out. And I personally have, and I know that we have on live stream communities, we'll ask friends, can I post to yours? Can you post for me? Can you share this for
Right.
me? There's nothing wrong with building your community that way to help get the word out. Because if you have something
Yeah.
that you think is valuable that people will want to see, then that's great. Or an event that you think people are going to want to go to, they just need to know it's there. There's the
Right.
value for that. So with respect to feeds, you don't want to trip over your own 2 feet. That's the key. You
Mm-hmm.
want your feed to stay fresh, and you want your feed to stay interesting, and you want your
Yeah.
feed to stay crisp enough that people want to come back and see more, that they want to
Yeah.
follow you. Because if they don't click, and the links, and then the algorithms, and then your edge rank goes down, and then you lose people.
Yeah.
So
Totally. Do you guys ever incorporate, again, we're going back to the storytelling, incorporate telling a story to entice people to an event? You know, 'cause it's always easier if you're saying, well, yeah, I could go to your event, but instead you can say, going back to Phil, Phil was at our event last year and saw an increase in his sales revenue of 35% because of the takeaways he got. Phil, we're going to talk to you here on live video, or here's an interview with Phil we did about, you know, what last year's keynote and breakout sessions did for him. I mean, do you guys tend to try to incorporate that, the human factor into events?
So that's interesting point, because that is human factor, yes, but specifically what you're talking about, GreenMark is more geared toward the news that is out there as opposed to the news that we generate for our own business. So
Mm-hmm.
GreenMark, we at GreenMark, we want people to know what we're capable of. And so what
Right.
we'll promote is how we've gotten our clients media hits. For example, if our
That
client
makes sense. Yeah.
just won a slot, then when that happens, we'll share that out and we'll let everyone know.
Mhm.
Take a look at this great video on this radio station. Okay. GreenMark
Yeah.
PR is we can toot our own horn quite a bit. We don't do
Mm-hmm.
that on social media, on Facebook or on Twitter. It's not our style, at least not now. Our style
Mm-hmm.
is to more like the proof is in the pudding as opposed to the proof is in the numbers. And those
Right.
numbers are great. And we have numbers, and we'll happily show prospective clients numbers in a
Mm-hmm.
private discussion, you know.
Yeah.
What we would rather do from a event perspective is focus on the value of the event to the
Mm-hmm.
viewer. That's our goal. Our goal is to bring value to our viewers, bring information, bring knowledge, bring education,
Yeah.
motivate, inspire people. As we're public relations, and most of our people are journalists, we care about
Yeah.
offering good news, good information, that valuable information that other journalists can take from. So let's be honest, the fact that GreenMark had a conference and Phil's numbers went up because he came to this conference, that's not great news. That's
Right.
good.
Be like, wow, that's
That's
fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good number if you're looking for people who are concerned with numbers. And there are people, and that
Right.
can happen, where you want to do that, where you want to give those numbers. But from GreenMark PR's perspective, we're focused on our stories. That's where we
Right.
focus a lot of our. So let's say you're running a conference and you want to
Mhm.
do that. You might use that human factor, and you might
Mm.
create some kind of an inspirational story around Phil and his
Right.
success. But you might do it from the numbers perspective, because that's what's worked for you, because your client base is number oriented. But you could
Right.
take
Right.
it in a different direction. You could take it to a
Mhm.
one-on-one. Phil found an incredible new client that has become,
Mhm.
a family friend, or has had brought him repeated business, or has
Yeah.
referred him multiple times. You could tell that
Nice.
story. And you could
Mhm.
also tell the story that, Phil came to this conference as a speaker and went to the sessions and learned something himself and incorporated it into his business. You can go from so many different directions depending on
Right.
what message you're trying to send. And for us, it's all about education, and it's all about bringing information. So that's where we're going to keep our focus. GreenMark's going to always bring you valuable information. So,
Well, and that does, like, you know, and it's like we said, there's no cookie cutter approach to this.
right,
It's all about what your projected audience to that event needs. What
right.
is going to compel them to say, you know, time is money. This is worth my time.
Yeah, this is worth my
Possibly
time.
registration fee.
That's, we could hashtag that, hashtag worth my time,
Yes.
because you're right. That's what it all has to be. Every news story has to be worth someone's time. Every
Mhm.
post has to be worth someone's time. Every message
Yeah.
needs to be worth someone's time, because if you're willing to spend time, let's face it, that can be monetized. That time
Right.
is money.
Oh my
So,
gosh, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, look at us. So many of us, if we do work in the consulting space, you know, everybody wants the pick your brain meeting, and you're like, well, that's great. You can pick my brain for 15 minutes, and then we need to talk about where else this needs to
Right.
go
What the
because, you
proposal
know,
is going to be. Exactly. And
exactly.
that's the key for drawing in, and that goes back to content marketing,
Hmm.
drawing in people who need either your information or your services, or your direction or your storytelling abilities. How do you get them to go past the, oh, this is a pretty
Hmm.
picture, to I want to buy
Yeah.
that picture. That's the key. And for all of us, we all work on that every day.
Yeah.
We work on getting, tipping the consumer over to the buy side. Yeah.
Well, and I'll harken back to Brian Fanzo. His motto is think like a fan. It is that,
Right.
because, and just like we were saying, well, I don't want to give away free time. Your client doesn't either. Your audience doesn't either. Their time is as important to them as your time is to you. And you need to keep that in mind, not just saying, oh, they just can't wait to hear from me. No, make it worth their while. Thanks for being here, Mitch. I appreciate it.
Yeah, very much.
And since we are kind of getting toward the top of the hour, Gina, I would love to hear, do you have any last takeaways, or as people do go forth to promote their events, what are some best practices to keep in mind aside from what we've already shared, or even just to repeat some of those?
Okay, so for promoting your events, or promoting any story, let's just say, it's about community. It's about who are you trying to reach? What is that community? Can you expand that community and get more people interested to build your reach? Or do you want to focus just on your community? You've got to decide where your focus is. You've got to decide, this is my story, and this is who I'm trying to reach. And then if you fringe and you want to build, that's fine too. So the first thing you have to do is you have to know who you're trying to reach, because that will really, really help you narrow down where you put your message, how often you put your message out.
Yeah.
And you can monitor that. If you're concerned, start early and monitor and see who's interested. And, you're going to have to probably do it more than once. You're going to have to write more than one blog post. You're going to have to post on Facebook multiple times for multiple weeks. You're going to have to go live more than once. Growing Green, our show, has been going on now for 6 months. This will be our 6th show, I believe. And I'm a new host. But so, we use analytics and we measure and we promote. We improve our promotion every month. We do something different every month to bring in new and interested parties. So you can't, I'd like to say, sure, go out, do it, do an event, post something, and have you be a success on that first try. I would love to say that. I would love to say, here's all you have to do, and then you're a success. But
that's right.
You have to just focus on your story, your message, and who you're trying to reach and how you're going to reach them, how you're going to bridge that gap. And then you have to come up with a plan and just do it. You have to follow through on the steps and see how it goes, and then take notes and adjust accordingly. Again, you might hit a home run on the first one.
Right. That would be awesome.
It would be fantastic. Although I'm the new host, Growing Green isn't a new show, and Growing Green from our Tumblr, our blog isn't new. GreenMark PR is 10 years old. I'm just the newbie here. So for me, it feels like, well, gosh, if I could just step in and I've got 500 viewers, that'd be fantastic, because then it'd be a big success, but it's still, well, then what do you do for the next one? And what do you do for the next one? And how do you monitor and how do you maintain and be consistent? So, I mean, to wrap it up, that would be my, my directive, so.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Well, since you mentioned it, I'm going to share the link to your show is firetalk.com/GreenMark-PR. And sorry, are you going to share some more about that?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to mention something about this. So obviously we've been promoting this on our Facebook page, GreenMark's Growing Green. The name of the show is Growing Green. And this week's episode is Building Green. We're going to be talking about how to build with a green mindset. And something that I'd like to say about tracking and analytics. So you see here this firetalk.com. Now, because we're on Huzzah and pretty much everyone who's watching this right now, they're going to be fine with going to FireTalk. They're going to be fine with creating a FireTalk profile. No worries.
Right.
A lot of our viewers on Facebook aren't fine with that. They're going to go and they're going to be like, well, I don't want to log in. So one of the reasons why we like FireTalk, and I know that other sites do this too, because you can go and you don't have to actually log in. You can still watch. So what?
Oh yeah.
Because you can't monitor who comes to your live show if they don't log in. What we've done is we've created a Bitly, and we will track this Bitly that Ed just popped up. So we'll track how many people use that Bitly and compare it to who is actually on the site live. And then after the fact, we will also see if that Bitly is used multiple times, because once again, we want to be able to track as many different ways as we can.
Smart.
So
smart.
Yeah.
I think you bring up a wonderful point. Even though some platforms may not have a way inherent to them to track something, you do have hacks like that where you can go to Bitly, it's free to use, and just create that little custom link that you can see later, say, oh my gosh, all these people clicked on this.
So,
Yes.
and I mentioned communities before too, and I know that a lot of the live stream community is really based on social media, how to go on camera, where do I post, when do I post, what platforms do I use, content marketing versus direct marketing, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Well, our show, Growing Green, has nothing to do with social media at all. It's just about talking.
That's great.
We'll have 3 really great guests talking to us about building in the Chicago area and also nationally, regionally and nationally, and doing it with the challenges of doing it green, and whether they're positive challenges, whether it's hard for the individual. So I'm hoping that some of the live stream community will be interested in the topic and, maybe want to send some people over and chat about that a little bit. Because that's what our focus will be repeatedly month to month. We'll be talking green. So,
I'm a social media marketer. I am so ready for more content other than social media to be on these airwaves.
Exactly.
Whatever.
So,
Digital
there'll be some interest there because,
yes,
as you said, we don't want to work for free. We want there to be value and interest and sponsorship and we're not just, and I don't mean for us as individuals, but I mean for the valuable content as a news resource. We want good news out there. That's our goal. Good stories. That's what we're looking for. So,
well, and I feel like you guys do share good news because you're kind of giving hope that, if we all work together on this, we can have a little more long-term vision in mind to make things greener and better for generations to come and not just ourselves. That's a long game to keep in mind. And I think it's admirable that you guys do that.
And the hope is that Growing Green will bring up some points and discussions that may actually make huge changes possible. Everything from grassroots, to the individual, to what volunteers can do as a whole to create a wave that can make a huge difference. So
totally.
Yeah. So that's Growing Green, and we're on the 3rd Thursday of every month. Thank you for the plug. I appreciate that.
Of course.
And you've got the links there, and we will be setting up an event on Facebook, and we'll send out invites to people, and then we'll ask people to share and invite others.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's wonderful. Well, Gina, seriously, I appreciate your time so much today. Thank you. It just means a lot too to bring additional expertise in here, and you've got a wealth of it. So I appreciate you sharing that with our folks here.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
Of course, and I know, like everyone, as Gina prompted us, use the Bitly. I put a little use this links to make sure you use theirs, not mine. But use theirs so they can see and track, as we all should be doing, to how we're getting people to our important events to make this world better and help with our content. So I think that's great. But Gina, thank you so much. I'm going to share one last thing in the sidebar too, also my own Bitly. Anyone who wants to sign up, I do a newsletter each week. It goes out each Thursday. It is 3 quick hits of social media. It's an event. It's a how-to video that's under 5 minutes. So any kind of feature on social media, usually a new one, I'll share. This week's is about how, oddly enough, how to set up Google Analytics on your WordPress site so you can actually track social and everything else. And then also I include that week's blog or vlog on there. 3 hits and that's it. So I'd love if everyone sign up. But that brings us to a close of this week's Laugh and Learn. We laughed. We learned. Mission accomplished. Well, thank you so much, Gina.
Thank you very much. Really a pleasure. I appreciate being on the show, and I hope that we'll see you again soon.
See you soon, and have a really social day, everyone. Take care.
Bye.